Hi everybody. This is me trying to figure out all the tech. So just give me 1 minute so I can make sure I can see the chat. I'm hoping I can see the chat. And you'll have to excuse me, I have been clearing my throat for a couple minutes. Oh wow, there's a lot of people in the chat. Is that my chat? Now I need to be able to see the chat over my phone. Hold on just 1 second. My phone is right here. Okay, I think I got this. Can you hear me? Yes, oh good. Oh, hi Judy. All right, so there is quite a delay because I think I said that about 10 seconds ago, but that's okay. I'm just kind of going through the chat, looking for what you guys were talking about. I didn't realize you guys could chat before I turned things on, but look at this, you're all here. Who is Disturbed Jellyfish? I see, so sometimes I don't recognize the handle, your YouTube, whatever it is, handle. So if you know me by, and I know you by a different name, let me know. Let me know. All right. So I am going to go ahead and get started. Let's set my mouse over here, and I'm going to try not to look at the screen too much since there's such a big delay. Now, if you aren't familiar with these brushes are in my freebies section. They're brand new. They were part of Kelly Brandberg's free Create event, and they will just live here in my newsletter freebies. I call it the Pixel Pantry. So you can get them at any time, even though the event is over. The event was for a whole bunch of people's freebies. I think it's over. It might not be. Oh yeah, it's the 6th. It's over. So hopefully everybody got in on that. And the brushes that I gave you this. I just said I was going to stop looking at the screen, and now I'm looking at it. I gave you this file that shows you some examples of different skies that you can paint with these brushes. And if you go to the layers panel, this is called Page Assist. So it's just showing each of these groups as one image. And you can open up the layers panel and see what I've done to create each of the images. And I thought, well, that's good. That's going to be helpful, especially for people who aren't super new to Procreate. But I wanted to offer this lesson also just to help you just to have a visual, like hands-on lesson as well. So if you don't have these brushes, let me grab my hair. I lose my hair all the time. Whoops, I tapped the wrong one. They look like this in my newsletter freebie section. Hold on 1 second. I gotta get something out of the way here. There we go. They look like this in my newsletter freebie section, and they're there for newsletter subscribers, and anyone can become a newsletter subscriber. So that is for you to just find. There's always a link down below in all these YouTube videos, and you can sign up. You'll get a password and email. That password changes now and then you'll get in the email you'll get password and a link to the Pixel Pantry, and there's a ton of free stuff here. The palettes here actually are for a new free class that I have on my site, so you can find that by going to the free tab. If you don't know how to download things, I do have a video here. I am updating this probably later today. I've already recorded it because iOS 26.1 brought back slide over, which allows things to be a little bit easier. See, I have this, my files tab is just hiding back there all the time. Sometimes I have it be my photo album. So yeah, it makes it much easier. So I'm updating that download video. Yeah, come have fun getting these. I think I mentioned either mixed media or potpourri brushes would be also helpful. I think it was potpourri with the sky stories to illustrate all of the different skies that I show in here. But let's go ahead and get started from the beginning of a fresh illustration. I'm not going to do every single one of these, just kind of guide you through a couple of things like these paper stamp brushes, the tape stamp brush, and some textures and things like that, and then I'll do a couple of skies. I am going to open a fresh canvas, and it can be any size you want, although my paper stamp is a square. So I'll just open a 10-inch square. So tap the plus sign again. I go to inches, 10 inches by 10 inches. 300 dpi is perfect. And I always use this color profile. Oops, I have to remember to look at the chat. Let me know if you have questions. And then tap the check mark. Sorry about my voice. I am going to go ahead and darken my background. Whoops, go in here to the background layer and darken it a bit. And then what color do you want your paper to be? You obviously do not need to use my paper stamp. That was just a fun deckled edge stamp that I wanted to give you. And that is down here. And it's going to be, I think I made it at 12 inches, so you can get it pretty big size from that and still have nice resolution on that. So I am going to use it. Deckled edge. Ooh, did you see how that jumped back up? That's a glitch. And I do have a size setting on there, which is probably like a 4-inch. Yeah. It's for mini paintings. I'm really into mini paintings right now. And I am going to pick kind of a creamy color, just not stark white. So, I don't know, pretty close to white. Oh yeah, that's basically white. I'll go to 96 and 1 there. How about that? And I'm going to go to a pretty big size, and I'm going to remember my percentage there. 58. Oh, let's go bigger. All right. So what was that? I don't know what it was, but let's do about 65. There we go. And the reason I want to remember that is because I'm going to use the same size or a little bit bigger on the masking tape. And the masking tape is just a fun thing to have. I'm going to add a couple layers. I know my paper's not centered, and that's okay. And I am going to use the masking tape and bring that up 65-ish, 60, 70. Let's see. Ooh, that's big. Here, I'll turn the paper off so you can see. So that's pretty big. And I am going to undo that. Try again, see if I can get it to fit on the page. There we go. Now we can't see it. Of course we can't see it. I'm just going to pick a darker kind of a masking tape color and drag and drop it to there so we can see it. Now I actually want to have that be a clipping mask, and I want all of these to be clipping masks on the paper, so I'm just going to turn them all into clipping masks really quick. I'm just kind of getting set up. Clipping mask, clipping mask, clipping mask. So the reason for doing it as a clipping mask is really just so the deckled edge shows up, because that masking tape kind of went over the edge. And now I can take my masking tape layer and I can adjust it a little bit like this until I get it exactly how thick I want it to be. Sometimes people put nice thick layers of masking tape on, sometimes thinner layers, so you can kind of make it however you want. I'm going to give people a second to get caught up. Are people following along? Judy, this is your first time doing a live with me? Wow. Well, except our Zoom calls. All right, so that is kind of how I have the masking tape set up intended to be, except at the end, I'm gonna make those two the same color so that you can't see the masking tape. I like to be able to see the masking tape while I'm working, so this is just a nice way to get it set up. So for example, if I want to pick a painty brush, I'll just get a soft cloud brush and pick a blue. You know, I know where the edge is. So that's just a nice way to just, I like to keep the masking tape a pretty similar color to the paper as well, to the background, whatever the paper is. Now with masking tape, this faux masking tape look, when I apply an overall texture over the whole thing, I want it to apply to the masking tape also, because it's going to end up looking like it's just paper there once we change it back to the paper color. So this is another part that I wanted to definitely show people who aren't familiar with my classes, is how to get this overall texture. So let's go up to the top. We're gonna do our skies down in this area, but the top, I'm gonna add a layer, and I'm gonna pick a color. I like to view in this disc mode. I just like to go straight across. And sometimes I have to go a little lighter or darker depending on the canvas texture brush. But the brushes that I provided are these four down here. This cloudy one is more intended for a very specific cloudy look, not like a papery texture. So with these three, I'm gonna pick the bamboo because I think it's probably more noticeable for the camera. And you can pick your size. You can see the grain size in there. And I am going to go ahead and cover the whole canvas in this gray. And I am going to turn that into a clipping mask too. If you're not using this whole deckled edge paper situation going on, you don't need to turn this layer into a clipping mask because you'll want it to. It's just going to apply to the whole canvas. Right now I want it to apply just to my paper, and this can be kind of a faux desk background, and we're going to add a shadow later. So now if I zoom in, you can see it's very gray. And I'm going to duplicate that. Well, let's turn it into a clipping mask first. Clipping mask. So whenever you have a clipping mask, everything is clipped to that base layer. So now it's not going off the edge here. It's only showing up on that base layer. I'm going to duplicate the texture. And I'm going to turn 1 to color burn by tapping on the N. And I'm going to turn 1 to multiply. So the multiply one is still very gray on the white, and it really shows up most on white and light colors. And I don't like it being so gray, so I'm going to reduce the opacity. And this is when I said sometimes I choose a different shade of gray for this. Sometimes there's no amount of reducing the opacity that gets that to be a nicer texture look. And I have to use a lighter gray to start with. And then the color burn layer is going to apply to brighter colors, which we don't really have here, so I can't really decide what opacity I want to use on that. It's usually not too low, so I'll just put it at 75. All right, so that is how I do textures. So I can't group those because they're clipping masks. They won't be clipped anymore if I try to group those, but normally I wouldn't have them as clipping masks and I could group them. Apparently I'm making things a little more difficult today. So, all right, so we have our paper, our masking tape, and our texture layers. And those are all kind of key things. If you don't want to have to do that every single time, you can just group all of these and duplicate the group, right? Turn one of them off and illustrate in this one, and then you have the other one all ready to go. So let's go ahead and paint a sky in this one. I didn't plan on which sky I was gonna do, or which skies. I'll probably do more than one. And I think in the downloads, I think I told you to grab the potpourri brush set, which was one of the freebies. I think in the email where if you signed up during the free Create event, the email you got, I think said to grab this set. And this is why I really like these pastels down here. And then there'll be other things in here that you'll want to use too, but you can have a lot of fun with this soft pastel and blender. It's very rainy. I think last night we had the most rain in the shortest period of time that I remember ever. It was really bad. We have a covered area under our deck, and the water was coming up onto the house and down instead of over to the gutter. So let's do a gloomy sky. I'm going to choose kind of a gray blue on a big size, and I'm just getting kind of a blue background, so I'm down here right above my paper layer, and it's only going to show up on the paper layer because it's a clipping mask. And you can just do anything you want with some blues down here. You can try to get a little bit of a land mass down here if you want. I don't know. I'm going to tap and hold the smudge brush, so I'm on that same brush for the smudge tool, and I can smudge a little. Quick illustrations. That's pulling in some white over here from the edge like that, so be careful. It's not pulling in white, it's just exposing the white. How dark do we want this gloomy sky to be? Right, so simple, basic background. And even though I'm only showing you the very specific little bit of sky, this technique can be shown or can be done on full illustrations. Like, if you have a little girl walking down the street and it's a stormy day, you would just do the sky in layers that are under the little girl. So now I want to switch to a sky brush, and let's do the soft clouds or the smooth clouds. Those both make nice fluffy clouds, but one is a little bit more painty look, and this one is very fluffy. So I'll do the soft clouds, and I'm going to choose a gray. I'm just going to start with gray since we're at a gray day, and I'm going to make sure I'm on a new layer, just in case I want to change that background a bit. Test my size here. That's pretty big. And I'm going to make the gray in the shape that I want my cloud to be. Kind of a cumulonimbus cloud, I think, right? Big puffy rain cloud. And I'm going to stay on the same layer, but you could go to a new layer for a lighter color. And we're not trying for realism here. This is just really fun, stylized looks here. I'm going to leave some of that gray exposed, and that's going to help create that depth. And then I'm going to make sure I'm in double tap in white for some of these areas to get some nice bright areas. So I'm just kind of doing little swirls. Hopefully you can see how basic those swirls are. Now my blue sky looks a little too bright for a rainy day. It's a good thing that I did the cloud on a different layer, because I can come here and make some changes to my blue if I want to make it more gray. I could even just go to hue, saturation, brightness and reduce this saturation to make it less vibrant. Maybe even darken it. Ooh. All right. Are we good? You guys following along? It's snowing in Canada. Of course it's snowing in Canada. Where in Canada? I know Judy is just north of me. I'm sure it's just rain, although it's not currently raining. Okay, so now that's one thing. That's one cloud. The other cloud brush is very similar. I'm just going to go to a new layer and show you, right? It's just kind of really fun, tappy. It's just a different look. So those are sort of meant for some fluffier, bigger clouds. And if you just layer up your colors a little bit, that will give you nice depth, depending on how sunny / cloudy and gloomy your day is. If you want to add some rain, I would probably add it on top of this and then erase some of it. If I added the rain under this layer, it would only show up kind of, I don't know, I think I might want to have more flexibility with where it shows up. So let's try a rain brush. We can do a big raindrops one, and the streaky one is fun, but let's just do the raindrops. And I'm still on a really light color. That's really fun. Maybe a smaller size. So I can do rain and then erase. I was on this pastel for the smudge brush, so now I'm gonna go there and tap and hold for the eraser. So now it's my eraser as well. And I can try to erase a little bit of these raindrops that don't look like they're in the right place. But now I have a raindrop right here, whereas if I had done that on a layer under the cloud, I wouldn't get that look. So maybe this random raindrop over here is not really where it would be. Super fun, fun. All right, what else do we want to do? The glowy brushes, the glowy halo, you can play around with using the add blend mode. So if I go ahead and turn this group off and turn this group on, I might duplicate it again, turn that one off. Let's go for a night sky. So you could either change the paper color, or you can really add a whole bunch of paint to this layer right above it with any brush. Let me go to a deeper blue. I'll just go with something like that. I don't know. I like adding like 3 colors, 3 shades of whatever I'm doing. Adds depth. Go to a new layer, and you can play around with whites and yellows. Go back to Sky Stories and let's do the glowy halo. Isn't that fun? When I realized I could make a stamp brush for this, I thought that's going to save me a lot of time, because when I make these in my illustrations, I spend a lot of time getting them just right. So now you can play around with blend modes on that layer. And it's not going to be super bright with this black, dark blue below it. But if you go to another layer and turn that to add, sorry, I didn't even mention, I went to the add blend mode there. If you turn the next one to add, then you're really going to have some brightness, and you're going to really have a concentrated amount of it. And then with them being on separate layers, you have control over how bright you want that to be. And I might even go to a 3rd layer on add and switch to this sketchy halo and have kind of a fun, ooh, I might do that underneath. It's all about experimenting. Can't even tell that's underneath. So that's another look, and then maybe decrease the opacity of that. Am I going too fast? So that would be something where you might want to do that underneath a star stamp. And the star would be on ad as well. All sorts of things you can do with that. In fact, let me show you a couple of full illustrations. Let's see if I can find one really quick where I do this one. I do a sketchy look with the star and the moon, just the sketchy halo, and I'm using yellows. That's a lesson in my membership. That one's Galaxy. And now I have a lot of, you know what, I think what will be easier is if I use this. So here in this really cute gnome illustration, that has a really faded halo and sketchy halo. I didn't use the stamps, I did a lot of swirling with a pencil. This foggy one could be used, you could use the cloud brushes. Actually, you know what would be even better with that one is this Sunset Clouds brushes. Has a little more texture in it like that. Here's another one where you could use that halo just to get a look like that of a hazy moon in the sky. Oh, I apparently use a halo-y look quite a lot. Oh, I don't know why these got out of order. I've been finding my stuff getting into weird orders randomly. Maybe I did that inadvertently. Like I probably normally would have those brushes next to each other like this. Weird stuff. With the sparkly brushes, those are really fun. I'm just going to go to a new layer. Those are fun too. Kind of add some magic to the sky. Oh, we should talk about the Galaxy brushes. And I do want to talk about the Sunset brush as well. The foggy brush is, I think I'll just show you what I did. I know you have this example one. Where's the fog? Interesting, it didn't go to that group when I did that. So when you're looking at the examples, turn off layers and kind of go through, right? I just really blotched some stuff down for this example. You could spend more time. I knew my hills were going to be up high, so I just made some yellow up here. It didn't matter what was going to be down here. And then my really far back layer, fog on top of that, next layer, fog on top of that, next layer, fog on top of that, and then some more fog all around. So with that document that I gave you, that's a nice way to kind of go through and see how I did these things. And then you can spend more time than what I did there, making little tree pointy shapes and things like that. I'm just looking at the chat really quick. Yes, working on brushes. I have a video on managing your brush libraries here on YouTube. And also Gabby, who is probably asleep in Germany right now, she's in my membership. She gave us the idea to have a brush library that is for new brushes that you download. So whenever you're downloading freebies, they're going to go into the active brush library. So if I pinch out of this, that's the active brush library. So I would want to select the brush library that I want my freebies to go into before I tap that freebie that's going to automatically import. So she has a brush library that is for new things that aren't backed up yet. Isn't that great? So then she knows that she eventually needs to get to backing up those brushes before she moves them to the library she wants them to be in. I think that's a really good plan. She's very organized and she does a really amazing job at backing up. And that's just an idea that she had that really stuck with me. So if that helps, hopefully that helps. Let's look at Galaxy, the Galaxy brush really quick. I'm just gonna stick with this starry area. Maybe I'll turn the star off. I would probably use Galaxy with a darker background. And look at reference photos, or not. I say that kind of with a little bit of warning that sometimes if you're looking at reference photos, it can make you feel like yours needs to look just like that. And it really doesn't. Maybe I'll turn all of these off actually. So this one is really fun to get a nice Milky Way streak, maybe playing around with different sizes, but also different colors, really fun colors. And you're going to notice this brush is bright. As you keep adding up layers, you're going to notice some brightness, especially with white. So watch what happens here. So this brush is, it has the add, like the add blend mode in it. See that? So you can get really bright things with that and brighten up little particular spots, which is fun. And then if you want it to look like it is hiding behind a landscape, you just go to a layer above it and paint your landscape. So if we go back to potpourri, and if it's night, it could even be black. And I made that all pretty high, so I'm gonna make the mountains, you know, not very mountainous, not jaggedy, but you get the idea. You would paint on top of it to hide the galaxy behind it. Is there any in particular brush? Oh, we're gonna do sunset. I think the rest are pretty straightforward. See, this is the other thing that keeps happening. Was this here earlier? This just appeared. This keeps happening, raindrops _ original. I think I don't know where it came from. Does it keep happening to everybody else? In random brush sets, I keep getting duplicates that do that. I think you can just delete them, I hope. All right, let's look at sunset. All right, sunset without looking at a picture. So like oranges and then blues appear. I'm gonna try to remember that one I drew that I provided for you already. So I'm on the, oops, I'm not. Now I'm on the soft pastel and blender. I'm on a layer right above my paper. I'm gonna do sort of a muted blue down here for the water. Ooh, that's really dark. Think about where your horizon line should be, or where you want it to be. And I'm gonna do really brighter blue up in here. We'll just kind of, how about get that as a base layer? I'm not sure that's how I did it last time. And then on a layer above that, you can think about the land, if you want a land mass. I used a really deep purple, deep muted purple, and I used a pencil-y brush, but let's use dry ink. It's way faster. Wow, we're really buggy. See, it jumped way up. It shouldn't have done that. And I am just I'm on a new layer. I'm just gonna get a little bit of a horizon line. Maybe we're on a beach and we're looking out at some hills way out there. So you get the idea here. I'm going to do super rough sketch here. Now there's your water and your sky. I'm going to go to a new layer and probably add a couple more layers and start playing around with sunset colors. So going back to my sunset clouds brush, and I'm thinking about, oh, I should probably put my sun in first. Let me put my sun in. I'm going to go back to potpourri. Dry ink is fine. I'm going to put a really bright yellow globe here. I'll put it down low. Not sure. I don't remember if I used the add blend mode on this, but we can come back to it. And I guess we'll put that up higher for now and go under it and go back to sunset cloud brush. This brush is kind of, I feel like I use it on its side. I don't know if you can tell, like holding my pencil on its side like this. I feel like I kind of use it like I'm using real art supplies that I'm dragging across. And I can erase whatever's going to end up showing up down here, but hopefully you can see the texture it provides. Let me go to a brighter color. I'm going to do some pinks. I don't necessarily want it to fill the sky with a color like we did with that blue. Maybe more orangey, bright reds. It's got this texture. Trying to find a spot where you can see that texture really well. See that streakiness? So this is just, you know, you might want to put this on a layer that's under your hills here. And then we can brighten up around the sun a little bit. Maybe go to a new layer on top of the sun. Smaller size. Get some yellows in here. And I'm going to bring my landmass. I don't know, I kind of like the sunset glowing on all of that. I don't know if you can see that. So you could bring it above all of that if you don't want that glow to be on the land. I'm going to keep it down there. And then you can either do new layers or just continue with these sunsetty layers to have some streaks showing up here as well on the water. So if I go back to my example, which of course takes more time, so I'm not going to take up all of your time here today doing that, you can see I did use the add blend mode. So I have the water and sky, and I did add some color directly to this layer. I have my landmass, whoopsie, I have my landmass above all my sunsetty colors. So there it is there. And there's the sunsetty colors. Ooh, we got to get some purple down in there. And the colors down here kind of reflect what's up there. So you can do it on that layer or on a new layer like I showed you. And then my sun is with the add blend mode, but look what else is on that layer. So I used white And I also streaked it. So let's do that. And that's it. That's all I did. And I did some more cloudiness up there. So if we do that white for the sun, change it to the add blend mode. Oops. It's not white, but it's pretty light. I'll bring it to the top of that yellow too. And you can either smudge that moon, you can smudge that out, or you can just try to add more right to that layer. It's very, very vibrant. And it will reflect, it will change depending on what's down here. So if you have, you might want to have your colors all figured out down here first so that you know how vibrant to make the sun. I feel like we could add some brightness down here as well. How's everybody doing? I'll zoom in. I didn't make my circle very circular. Are people following along? I think that's all I wanted to go through today. I think the fog is pretty self-explanatory, the sparkly stuff. Oh, now look, now I have a Raindrop Originals duplicate. So I think I'll email Procreate. I've emailed them twice this week already. But my other one is gone. Oh wait, that must be the one that must be the one I already mentioned. I thought it was one down here already happening. Weird. Anyways, so paper, whether you want to do a masking tape look or not, you can leave the masking tape. Oh, so let's talk about the masking tape. So if your whole entire illustration is covered like this, the paper, that white paper background is totally not showing, then all you need to do is change the masking tape color to whatever you think the paper color would be. So, you know, lighten it a little bit. I think it kind of looks okay, just like this. If you had some paper showing, do we have any paper showing on these? Let's just give an example here. I'm going to erase some of this down here. Kind of looks weird, but just as an example, this is my paper color back here. And I need my masking tape and my paper to be the exact same color. And that is going to give the look of having ripped your tape off and exposed the paper, just by having those be the same color. So I'm going to alpha lock my masking tape. You can do that with 2-finger swipe to the right, or tap it and tap alpha lock, the check mark. And I'm going to alpha lock the paper too, because I'm not sure I want it that white. It seems very bright. So I'm just going to come back up here into a kind of a goldenrod area, pick a color, and tap fill, and tap fill. So then that gives the look of having ripped off your masking tape to expose the clean paper. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Thank you for letting me know. I think we're done unless anyone has any questions. So these are free brushes if you've joined late. These are in my newsletter freebies. And while you're on my site getting those, I'll show you how to get to the free class where these rock palettes kind of go with. So if you go to the free tab, this is how you can always get into the Pixel Pantry if you know the password. I changed the password though, so you have to look at the bottom of a newsletter. you can enter it right here. Click here to enter. If you are on this free page and you haven't signed up for the newsletter and you can't get in, you just sign up here and then your emails will have that information. And this is the free class. So then there's other free stuff down here, but this is the brand new free class. And it is right here on my site, and you don't have to sign up for anything. Just grab the, I can't remember, potpourri and mixed media brushes and the palettes. Mixed media brushes is optional. Yeah. And there's some links down there. Actually, there's the link to organizing your brush library as well. Brush libraries. So just to warn you, it's kind of a warning. It is, especially if you're like most of us and have a lot of brushes. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Who was it? Oh, Gabby's here. Gabby, I thought you were asleep. Gabby is Hugfish there. She's the one who has the brush library idea for importing new brushes and keeping them in this separate brush library until you've backed them up and then move them. So I'll talk about the taped look in a second. Just 1 second. Crafty lady. I don't know who that is, but so it is a lot of work one time with this Procreate. I gotta figure out where to look at the camera. It's a lot of work one time to get all of your brushes reorganized. It's a lot of work if you have a lot of brushes. And then that's with Procreate 5.4 update with having brush libraries. Don't freak out if you update and then can't find your brushes, because what it's gonna look like is an old library and a new library, like an old Procreate brush library and a new Procreate brush library, and the new brushes are amazing. The old one has all of your brushes that you already had on your in Procreate. They're all in there. It's not just the Procreate native brushes. It kind of looks like it's the Procreate native brushes only. And it's scared a few people, so just beware. So you can create new brush libraries. I have so many free brushes in my newsletter freebies, but I have tons more in all of my classes. So I have people telling me they're making, and what I did, I made a whole brush library of my brushes, right? So you can organize them however you want, whatever makes sense to you. And then as you're getting new brushes, it's easier to just figure out where you want to put them as you go, right? But at the beginning, it's all one big chore to get them where you want. So I've got somebody saying they missed how I did the tape look, and that is, I do have stamps. This is a free set of brushes, and I have stamps for it. You don't have to use the stamps though. You can just turn on Page Assist. Do I have a lesson already on YouTube that shows that? So you can, I have a tape stamp layer. But you can, let's do this really quick. I'm gonna add a quick layer, and I'm going to, look at that, that's kind of cool looking without the tape. I'm gonna go to the wrench icon, Canvas, turn on Drawing Guide, and this defaults to the 2D grid, and I can leave it there or I can turn it back off. The fact that I've turned it on and back off again means that I can now, see if I turn it off, I can now tap on a layer and tap Drawing Assist. That would not be there unless I've already kind of activated Drawing Assist. And now I'm forced to draw in straight lines on that layer because it's on the 2D. So if you can go to this side stick pastel, it's like you're holding a little piece of pastel and going like that with it. And you can draw your tape on. Whoops, I just turned off Drawing Assist. My palm made it undo. So you can draw your tape on, right? You can do it this way, and it's a little bit opaque because that texture in that brush, I mean a little bit transparent, so you can just duplicate it a couple times and merge those three, and you have your tape. I just said that really fast. And then you have your tape. Gabby, thank you. Gabby said, I am the most generous brush gifter, but she is the most generous cheerleader. She has been there forever, for all the years that I've been doing this, I think. All right. I'm just looking, making sure there's no more questions. Hi, Penny. So Gabby, oh, Gabby, you missed this. I thought you might have been here the whole time and I missed you. But yeah, I mentioned you earlier. I mentioned you with the brush organization earlier. I thought you were asleep. You should be asleep. All right, I'm just thinking, I think I got all the questions. So if I didn't, feel free to email me. I will put things linked below for getting to the newsletter, and I'll link the brush organization YouTube video that I have. You should also back up your work, and I have a video about that too. All right, thanks for coming to my little impromptu live lesson. It's been a while since I did anything on YouTube, and just so you know, these lives are way more fun for me because then I don't have to edit video later. So that's my secret. And Gabby's saying, and if you start downloading hers, it's really helpful to make a separate brush library. Yeah, that would be a good plan. If you haven't downloaded any of my freebies and you're going to go get all of them, I would just put them all in a library specifically for mine. Yeah. It's my favorite brush library. I make good brushes, and that's, I know it's not very modest of me, but I really spend a lot of time and effort. My pastel brushes I just love because I watch a lot of videos about real pastels, and then I'm like, okay, I need to get a brush that can do that, like that look where you're smudging with your finger, and you know, all these different looks while I'm watching the videos. And I go for it. Use them on everything. Yay! You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully I know how to quit this this event here. I'm using OBS. If you could only see my screen right now. And I did it without my teenager's help. So pat myself on the back. All right. Bye.